I think there's a lot of people who are constantly seeking the best version of something. Like, oh, I need the fastest car, I need the strongest weed, I need the hottest person to date or whatever. I need like the most expensive clothes. And it's like, yeah, but like, is any of that like actually what you want, or is it like competition? Is it like a constant competition to have the best thing? And it's like, I don't think that's like really like what we're put on this earth for.
Cheap milkshakes and crinkled fries, slender frames and twinkled eyes. Was it ever really like that? Was it ever really like that?
You're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, AT Bianco, and today our guest is a talented artist out of New York City, fresh off the release of his album, Wallflower. His name is Hadji Gaviota. Hadji, how are you today? Thanks for joining the show.
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me. For real, I appreciate it.
First heard of your music thanks to the magic of TikTok.
Nice.
And I'm just curious about, your overall content process, and just walk me through what it's like for you to, bring your music to life through your content on social media. I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of people are curious too, because you do a great job.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, like, so I mean, the first step, right? You got to make the song, right? I like just love making mad music and like sitting on it for a while, usually before I like really like know what I'm gonna do with it. Because I feel like the more I listen to something, like the more I can like visualize like whatever that is. Sometimes, that idea is like immediate while you're making the song, but sometimes it's like you really got to live with it for a second and then be like, oh no, I can kind of see how it's like this, right? So then usually from there is when I start thinking about the visuals next. I think I do like favor songs that I make where I have like a visual in my head because it makes it more fun, right? It's kind of like telling a story. Um, and then I'm really lucky to work with like some great videographers. This guy Kari, and Adam, from Good Stuff, two different like New York videographers that I've worked with, especially like over the last like album or so. Um, and they've kind of helped me like we've done it together, kind of like building this like little world, thinking about what I want to wear in the thing, like what's gonna happen, what's the action, like all that kind of stuff. And then I've recently just been like kind of getting into visual stuff on my own. So I'm trying to like be a little more like pull a little more weight in that and see if I can like expand on some of these ideas.
Right. I mean, the self-sufficiency as an independent artist, and any artist for that matter, is something that you get better at over time. I find that for my own work and creating videos and brainstorming and getting the creative juices flowing. It's not always easy to do so, but that's very interesting to hear. And I want to get into a little bit of the detail of some of those videos later
Yeah.
on in the interview. But I want to start, and I love to start with this. I want to learn about your upbringing and how you developed the love for music, where you grew up, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I'm from Queens, New York, from Astoria. I grew up here. I lived here my whole life. So I think like I was introduced to music like by my parents for sure, like at a young age. My dad is very into like old like British punk rock kind of stuff, like like the Clash and like the Jam and stuff like that. And so I grew up listening to that. And then but he's a pretty like open-minded music guy. So we like shared an iPod, like an iTunes, when I was a kid. And I got me an iPod when I was in like third grade maybe. And so like I would like just go through that and I would just click on random artists that they had like in the library already. So through that I learned a lot of stuff. My mom had some cool stuff on there too. But so I would just be like, oh, like what's like Otis Redding? Let me click on this. I don't know what this is. And then I would listen to it and be like, oh, this is kind of fire. But I didn't really know anything about like the artists or like a lot of the times like it makes me feel old, but like it didn't even have the cover art, right? So it's like you wouldn't even really know what the guy looked like or the girl looked like or like who they were or anything. And you just listen to it because it was cool. So I just like kind of found music that way. And then growing up in New York, New York is a great place for a lot of different genres of music. But at the time that I was growing up, it was big like hip hop. It was kind of like a little bit of a golden age of like hip hop. So I grew up listening to a lot of rap music. And then I feel like I've like when it came to making music, I was like, all right, how do I take like what I got here and what I got here and like make that something new? And I think I was lucky to be making music in the era that I'm in now, because like I feel like a lot of people are open to that kind of stuff. So yeah.
That's interesting. So, what were some of the artists that you found on your parents' iPod that you gravitated towards that maybe influenced your sound today?
Um, I definitely listened to a lot of like Green Day when I was a kid.
Okay.
That was a big one. I liked, yeah, like I said, like Otis Redding was a big one that got me into like R&B. I remember when like Otis came out, like the Kanye song, and I was like, oh, I know this song. Like I used to listen to this song all the time. The song is fire, like that was one of
Right.
the first times I like knew the sample before I heard the song,
Right.
which now is like way more common when you get older. But like I was like, oh, I know this song. This song is gas. Trying to think, like there was so much. There honestly was so much music on there. Had some of it I'd never clicked on. Like I would just scroll right past and be like, that name is weird. But I used to listen to like a lot of like I like Alice in Chains, like '90s rock music too. It was cool. And then my dad had Doggy Style, the Snoop Dogg album.
Classic.
Yeah, I love that album. I was probably too young to be listening to that. And then in like I started adding my own stuff to the iTunes, and like I remember some of the first stuff I was adding was like Ludacris. I like Ludacris a lot.
Now you're very good at showing your true self on camera. I think that's one of the most difficult things to do as an artist or just a person making videos on the internet is to really reel people in. Was there a little bit of a hump you had to get over confidence wise to show that version of yourself on the internet?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I got comfortable like because I mean I started making music because I wanted to make music. It wasn't because I wanted to be like in front of a camera or anything. Not that I'm like averse to it. I just didn't that wasn't like what I thought. I was like, cool, I'm gonna make songs, people will like them. And then I was like, damn, I have to like shoot music videos. And then like you realize like how much that is. Like at first you're like, oh cool, I just perform my song in front of a camera. It's like there's nah, like, and I don't think you can really like appreciate what it is until you try to do it. So it was through that where I was like, whoo, okay, like this is a lot. I've been putting out music for like 5 years. So I feel like I've just been like learning how to do that because I didn't really know how. And so another artist that I love, his name is Downtown Kyoto. I don't know if you know him from TikTok too.
I've heard of the name. I actually haven't listened to music though.
You should check him out. But he
Okay.
he talks about he's also great at visuals, but he talks about the concept of like learning in public. And I feel like that's something I've appreciated and tried to like use as well and when I
I
make stuff.
Yeah, I could definitely resonate with that. That's something that a term, that's the first time I've heard that term, but something to get comfortable with over time is with your past work that you've put out
Yeah.
and really seeing the progress in which it all comes to life.
Mhm.
And maybe at the time we're making some of this stuff, we don't realize that we could really learn how to I don't know, do that over time, or maybe we don't realize it's not our best work yet, but then over time we look back at it, we're like, wow, we really learned, or I really learned how to do this certain thing. And what you just said, as far as learning in public, that
Mhm.
could resonate with a lot of artists. Now, do you get embarrassed sometimes when you make a video and over time, maybe a year goes by and you're like, oh shit, why did I do that? Do you get like that or?
Um, yeah, I mean like a little I think that's human nature though. I feel like people get embarrassed like just reading texts or like looking at, it's kind of the same thing.
Right.
Um, I feel like yeah, though for sure. But you have to ignore like you have to recognize that like that's not like how you see yourself isn't always how other people see yourself, right? Like you know way too much about yourself. And most people, unless you have like real like diehard fans, like they don't know that much about you. So like they might not cringe at shit that you cringe at.
No, that's very true.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we see in the mirror isn't what other people see, you
Yeah.
know?
Or the worst way around is when you're not cringing at it, but they are. And then that's like a whole learning lesson of itself. I feel like I've been pretty lucky to not have to go through that in public at least. But like, it's part of the game too.
Right, right. So, one of my favorite videos of yours, and it's a funny video, and it was the video of you trying Ice Spice Dunkin' Donuts drink.
Ice Spice, Dunkin' Donuts, drink review live from the Bronx. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so it's definitely got like a It's definitely very.
He say that I'm good enough. Cover my
And that video had me crying when I saw it because I didn't expect it. It was that element of surprise. So
Yeah.
my only question based off that video is, do you think anyone saw you filming that while you were in your car?
No, but I work in a neighborhood like where it's kind of quiet outside. Um, it's in the Bronx, which like the Bronx is not like a quiet place, but like it's kind of a quieter part of the Bronx.
Right.
And like there's not a lot of foot traffic really, unless school lets out. So it's like I was there on a break and I was like, there's nobody here, I hope. But I kind of was like, I accepted that there was a chance. And I was like, you know what? It's worth it.
Now you talk about doing that on your break, right?
Yeah.
And you have a day job and you teach.
Yeah.
So talk about using your time wisely and balancing the life of teaching our youth and making music and making content to promote your music.
Yeah. Well, thankfully now I'm a substitute teacher because like that kind of takes some of the pressure off like really holding these kids' education in my hands because I was a
Right.
full-time like teacher out of college when I started really like taking music seriously. It was around the same time. And so for 2 years I was really doing that. And like that was like a challenge, because it was like you're really like planning these kids' lessons and trying to make sure they pass the state tests and stuff. But now as a substitute, it's like I get to take more of like an approach of like because I'm younger, like I think kids like some of them at least like kind of look to me as like maybe not like a role model, but like someone that they want because it's high school kids, like they love they want approval at the end of the day. Like so you can kind of use your like young cool guy points to be like, hey, don't do that, do this, And as a sub, it's like I don't have to worry about them like being able to like do PEMDAS or whatever, but like I can try to make them be like, all right, that bad decision you're about to make with like the paper ball in your hand, like don't do that, like just take one step back.
Right, right. And
um,
it's not an easy thing to do so.
yeah.
Teaching, young teenagers for that matter. Is there anything that you've given them as far as advice that you wish you had while you were in high school?
Um, yeah, for sure. Especially like when I have kids like who are getting into creative stuff because I can relate to that, because I didn't really get into creative stuff until I was like out of college for the most part. Like I started messing around with it in college a little bit, but I wasn't like an art student. Do you know what I mean? Like I never did that. But having done the traditional school path, getting all the way to the end of it, and then being like, maybe I'd rather do this. Like I try to like impart on kids that like you don't have to have everything figured out. But if you like something, then you should explore it as far as you can because like anything could be a career, especially now. Like, like there's so many different things you can do for a career. Like I think going to college is great. I definitely encourage my kids to go to college. Like, but not even really for the learning part of it, more for like the networking and like figuring out how to be an adult and like carrying a reputation and taking yourself seriously and that kind of stuff.
I used to shoplift time to time so I could feel alive. I know if people ever found out they would be surprised. Sometimes a rush is what it takes to bring a decent time.
I love your music so much because you're very honest. I previously said that you're very honest, and I want to get into talking about your latest album.
Yeah,
So let's talk about Wallflower. What's the
for sure.
meaning behind the title, and what was your overall vision for this album?
I think that when I was trying to name it, like I was like, the one thing that all these songs kind of have in common is it's like stuff that I think, but not stuff that I necessarily would say out loud in conversation very often. And so it's weird when you write songs like that, you don't really think about it. You're just like, oh, like, and you just start doing some stuff, like for the most part, like I didn't think like, oh, I was gonna write this song about like, weight gain and loss and stuff, or oh, I was gonna write this song about like insecurities, or oh, I was gonna write this, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't thinking that when I was making those songs for the most part. So it's like after you look at it and you're like, damn, like, well, I didn't even know I was thinking that, but I guess I was, so it's like, and I was like, damn, it's kind of like the wallflower is like the idea of like someone who's just kind of there observing, but not saying anything. So, it just made me think of that. And it was nice. I feel like it's a nice little transition for me to like move from, making whatever I was making before to like being a little more like upfront and honest and like straightforward and stuff. So
I
It's a
also like,
transition, you know.
yeah. I also liked some of the creative themes as far as the cover art goes and the album art. It was you with the big kind of eyes
Yeah.
and almost like a fluorescent, really animated print behind you. Talk about bringing an album cover like that to life. Who you made that with? If you made it by yourself, what was that like creating
Yeah,
an overall
so
theme?
I did a photo shoot in LA in like April with this guy Adam, and we set out to like make, just take like cool pictures of me, and then we were like, we're gonna kind of have the edit be like the cover. Like I didn't want it to be like a photo looking photo of me. Like I wanted, and a nice cool edit. And so my manager introduced me to this guy Harrison, who also did the next cover art for the next thing that's coming out. And I like sent him, I was like, it was my idea, like, it's all about kind of like observing and seeing and not saying anything. So he made my eyes big and did the mixed media thing to make it really pop. And then I felt like the album is like, because it has a lot of synths and kind of like drum and bassy kind of stuff, especially compared to some stuff I've done in the past. Like I wanted it to be kind of colorful. So we went with the yellow color because I feel like it was like the most like appropriate sounding thing for the album. So yeah, it was a cool process though. Like we made a bunch of stuff, and then it was just kind of narrowing down like which, like once you get like all the cover options, you like listen to it with the picture and like look at the picture, like hidden, like is this hidden right? Like I don't know. And that was the one where I feel like it was the most accurate out of all the covers. So I was like, run it.
I love that. I love to hear that you actually do that with your photo and listen to the
You
music.
have to, or
I,
you're not gonna know if it hits.
100%, because that's what you're doing there is you're putting yourself in the shoes of the music listener. It's almost like the same idea of I don't know, dropping a song and then you've listened to it 10,000 times, but once it's dropped on Spotify, you have to play it and listen
Oh
to it
yeah,
like you're the listener. You know what I mean?
for
It's
sure.
really cool to hear I don't know, your creative process when it comes to bringing something to life like that. So talk about maybe a few people that you associate with, whether it's your manager or a creative team, maybe that helps you throw around ideas. And what is creative collaboration to you? What does that mean to you?
I'm definitely like a very collaborative person. I love working with different people. I'm not like self-produced. So like production, I'm always working with other people. And that's kind of been the way I've been making music for a while. And I can produce actually, but like I feel like it's like I kind of like the collaborative process so much because you kind of like you really get to see someone else in the room if you're not doing it on Zoom or something. Like be like, oh wait, hold on, and you kind of see that first like moment, be like, okay, we're moving on something. And you can always trust yourself to do that yourself, but I think that when you're self-producing, you kind of get in your own head a little bit unless you're really able to like free yourself up. So it's nice. I really like that on the music side. On the art side, it's the same thing. I've been growing, in my own, visual abilities as well. But like I've always been working with people, and just I feel like being a client for so long, it's actually helped me learn a lot because like I have started to figure out the gaps between like what I saw in my head and like what I'm telling somebody I want, and like learning
Mm.
how to like make that more clear, or just figuring out exactly what it is that you do. And I feel like actually it's given me a little bit of a head start on like video editing skills and like like even shooting skills, because it's like I've had to stand in front of it, and now I know what it looks like when I get it back, and I can be like, oh no, I want it to be like this instead of like this. But I love collaboration. It's kind of everything to me. Like I think that's kind of like what makes this whole thing fun.
So your song, You're So Cool. It's one of the most honest, introspective songs I've ever heard.
Thank you. That's nice.
You are very self-aware in your music.
Yeah.
And I want to just read this verse to you. I know you know the lyrics, but just for purposes, I'd like to read this and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. Sound good?
Yeah.
So, obviously if you've watched Hadji on TikTok, you've probably seen the clip of him with the lyrics saying, I used to shoplift from time to time so I could feel alive. I know if people ever found out, they would be surprised. Sometimes a rush is what it takes to bring a decent time from a 6 to a 7. And then I bought some follows for the clout, but they don't come with likes. And now I got to buy the likes so people don't look twice. And now the algorithm's fucked. And everyone's advice is to just be myself and I'm trying.
Yeah.
Dude, that I watched that clip and it sounds catchy, but if you're a
Yeah.
music lover and a music listener like I am, I like to break down the meaning and maybe become invited into the mind of the artist that creates those lyrics. So I read this kind of like a poem, and I just want to hear what this means to you, and maybe some of these standout lyrics. Were they from past experiences? Because you admitted a lot of things in that verse too that a lot of artists aren't willing to admit. So talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one of the things that makes it easy for me to talk about it now is that like it's not a part of my like thing now. But when I first started making music, like I definitely bought follows on Twitter and I bought plays on SoundCloud because it was like 2016. So I thought that's like what you're supposed to do. And like a lot of people were doing that. I'm not trying to say like I was trying to do some crazy shit, but
Right.
like within like 6 months, I was like, this is so whack. And then I just like went and individually blocked every fake follower I had on Twitter, which thankfully wasn't that many, but it was like I literally went in, I was like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't want this anymore. And I just like blocked all the things that I paid for. I was like, it just looks stupid, because you realize that like, I mean, I think that it came from a good place of being like, oh, I just want people to listen to my music. So let me like, if I can't create the like social like thumbs up that like having 10,000 plays would give you, like let me go buy those plays so that people might click on it there and see if they like it. And I think that's like because it's only something I really did once. Like I don't know, I just thought it was an interesting thing that artists don't talk about because it's like, is it really that bad? It's like, yeah, like we look at people funny for doing it, right? But it's also like if you're just trying to like get your shit out there, like why is that any different? People do a bunch of crazy shit to get their stuff out there. So why is it that mad people do that and don't talk about it? I don't know. I just think it's interesting. But
No,
I
you're
also
right.
talked about it until I was removed from it. So it kind of makes you like, I didn't really answer that question either, just leaves it out there.
It's very thought provoking, especially that line. And now the algorithm's fucked because
Yeah.
if anyone's looked into how Instagram works, Twitter, TikTok, even Instagram more so as far as the way, maybe not now, the way they used to promoting your posts and stuff, and like a target audience of likes or a target audience of more followers, like those followers and those likes aren't real. But the way it's promoted to you as a consumer on Instagram is that they are, and this is what you need to do so. So you kind of ran into that problem maybe a little bit of, I don't know what Instagram or TikTok or Twitter does, but I feel like for some artists that go through that, it kind of like, I don't know, shadow bans or something. Like, did you kind of go
Yeah.
through that thought process after the fact?
Yeah, a little bit, like because on TikTok, especially like you try one thing and it works once, right? But the trends come and go so quickly that if you're not like actively staying up on it, then whatever you did last week is not going to work anymore. And like it's tough because like nothing's ever been like that before. Like usually there's like a way longer period of one method working, and on there like it just kind of like cycles so fast that like you kind of have to be the first person to do it or it's not gonna even like work anymore. Like it's you can look at TikToks from like 2022 that artists were doing to now, and it's like looking at the Stone Ages. Like you're like, I can't believe it's like looking at like your dad's high school yearbook. You're like, wow. Remember when people made 7-second videos and put mad text on it? Like nobody does. And it's like that was like last year, like it was not a long time ago. It
Right,
feels
right.
so long ago.
Yeah, it feels like
It's
a
like,
lifetime because it's
yeah,
this never-ending chase of virality, but to keep up with these trends. So that kind of brings
yeah.
me to an interesting thought. Is there anything that you would advise artists to do if they're starting out promoting their music on TikTok?
Um, yeah, try a lot of different things. Like don't be I think that one of the things about TikTok is like you can't be as precious as on Instagram. And so I think one of the reasons why people in my age bracket struggle with TikTok a little bit versus younger kids, because like I'm 27, right? So people who are old enough, like I'm still young and like I'm still like on the front lines of the internet and stuff, but it's like I also like had a MySpace. So it's like I've been on the internet for a long time. You know what I mean? So like I've seen things change a lot. And I think that a lot of like the early 2010s internet was like you post something once. And if you post it once and it's good, it blows up. If you post it once and it doesn't blow up, it's not good. And I think that the way that the algorithms work now, that's just simply not the case. You can post something twice, and the first time it'll get 300 views, and the second time it'll get 300,000 views, and it's the exact same video. It's just the internet. It's different. You have basically like if you're a basketball fan, like you have to go from being like the like selective high efficiency shooter guy to being like J.R. Smith, bro. Like just throw threes up, bro. Just throw them up. Some of them are gonna land, maybe, but you're not gonna get judged for missing as much as I think people think you will.
Right.
But just like keep trying stuff. And then if you see something work, like take that and be like, cool, why did this work? Do I like that this worked? Is this me? Is this not me? You know, and like be honest with yourself. Because like if it did work and it's not you, you still learn something, right? You learn that that's probably not your path. But you know, like if it doesn't work, you can just keep trying other stuff. And if it did work and it is you, then you found your thing. Lucky you, you know, keep pushing, you know.
I loved your J.R. Smith analogy about
Yeah.
shooting your shot and being yourself on social media. And one thing I just wanted to mention after you were saying that was that I think being yourself, whether you're an artist or a creator on TikTok or Instagram, any sort of social media, I think being yourself is more sustainable than following along with any trend. Sustainable as in it'll last you longer to be yourself and to show your true self, whether it's for me making music content or for you promoting your music. So is there any specific video that you've made within the past year or so that really kind of stayed true to who you really are, that you were really proud that you made?
I was proud of the midnight snack TikToks that I did because I took my shirt off and the whole thing was about like being insecure about like my weight and stuff. So I was proud of myself for doing that because that's definitely not something I would have done like 2 years ago. And yeah, I was definitely proud of that. I've just been like honestly almost everything I've been doing visually now is like really coming from a good place. And I stopped worrying about like, oh, is this video gonna blow up or is it gonna get me a billion views or whatever? It's just like trying to be consistent and being myself. Because the thing with that is that like if you're expecting the first one to blow up or the second one to blow up or whatever, like it's like yeah, it could happen, right? But like that's also not like sustainable and it's not like what I'm shooting for. Like I want to have like a fan base that cares about me and like likes my music, and even if it's smaller than one that goes like crazy viral, obviously I would accept the virality, you know, figure it out later if that happens. But it's like you want to be honest and be yourself because like the people who like that, they're gonna keep getting that, right? So it's like it makes it easier to, you know, do what you need to do.
So another song I want to talk about, I'm going to try and go through some of my favorite songs from
Yeah, for
Wallflower.
sure.
So I love Smoking Mid.
Yeah.
It's a fun song to listen to, I wrote. What's
Mhm.
the inspiration behind that one? And talk about the creation of the music video. And is that title simply because the weed nowadays is just way too fucking strong?
So like yeah, that's definitely like the first like layer of that song is it's kind of literally what it is, right? It's
Yeah.
like yo, way too strong. Like I used to smoke weed and be chill about it, and then I stopped. And then I've also noticed that a lot of people have had the same experience as me where like, you know, one day you're smoking weed, everything's fine, and the next day you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. You know, and it's like, is it the weed? Is it us? Like who really knows, right? But the other layer of that, right, is that I think there's a lot of people who are constantly seeking the best version of something. Like, oh, I need the fastest car, I need the strongest weed, I need the hottest person to date or whatever. I need like the most expensive clothes. And it's like, yeah, but like is any of that like actually what you want, or is it like a competition? Is it like a constant competition to have the best thing? And it's like I don't think that's like really like what we're put on this earth for. You know? So it's like just kind of being like, yo, like some things like I really do want the best version of that. But the best is also subjective in a lot of things. And it's like just wanting something because other people want it or wanting it to flex or whatever is like just like it's kind of surface level, you know, you got to dig a little deeper and think about what you really want. So
Right. And that's a very common theme I feel like I've seen with a lot of up and coming artists maybe some things that they think they should have because they see other artists with that.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about a video that you had made with that jacket that you bought, that expensive
Yeah.
jacket, and that kind of reminded me of that. If people saw you said something along the lines like if people saw the jacket, then they would see the music too and think that of me. Was that a bit of like a social experiment that you did? And what was that like? And talk about why you did
It's kind of just rationale to buy a jacket that I wanted. But yeah, I mean,
it. And the
it's like,
reasoning
yeah,
that you gave yourself to buy it.
I've just really been, like thinking about the more you get into visual stuff, the more you recognize how powerful it is. Um, and just like seeing how like, the way you dress changes the way people think about you. And I got a comment on like the YouTube Shorts version of that where the guy was like, "It's sad that you think this." I was like, it's not even me thinking it, bro. Like you can look at the world like it's like, and I did it in a way where it's still myself, like
Mm.
picked a jacket I really like, made the fit, did the thing. It was me. But at the same time, it's like I need to present myself on this higher level. So it's like, yeah, it's just taking like, acknowledging that that's like something that could work and trying it out. And then just being honest about it after.
So one of my favorite videos of this year is your video for Hadji 2 Hottie.
Hey, yeah.
For real, one of my favorite videos this year. I thought it was one of the most creative ways to bring a song to life with your little VR character and
Yeah.
just the energy you came out with. So, talk about who you made that video with and what it was like bringing that to life.
Yeah, so I shot that with Alex from Dumb Days is his company. Dumb Days is a really cool like media company in LA. And I got introduced to them just through like they did a couple videos for some friends of mine and I saw their work and I was like, yo, these guys are sick. It would be cool to see like what I could do with them. And so I sent them a bunch of songs. I sent them that one. And they were like, yeah, I have this idea. And it was their idea and it was fire. And so like I kind of let them rip that one. Um and yeah, like it was really fun. It was funny doing that, like, in the street in LA and just like running around with that headset on. Like you can't see anything when you have it on. So like everything I was doing, like I couldn't see in front of me. Which is funny to watch the video again, like knowing that, like
I gotta
can't,
go do
I've never
that
put
with.
one of those on before, I don't think. So like I didn't realize you literally cannot really see. And then at a certain point the battery died. So like I really couldn't see out of it. Like so it was like I was just like swinging around. Um but yeah, it's just a cool idea about like if you wanted to take it to a deeper level, it's like, like how you see yourself, what you think you're doing versus how other people perceive you and just kind of poking fun at that. So I thought it went well with that song and what that song is about. So
Was that a song? Was that a song that kind of keeps you confident? Was that like a braggadocious, like
for sure.
Hadji 2 Hottie?
That's the brag moment on the album for sure. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I had at least one thing that was kind of like that. Because I'm bored is like kind of like that, but I'm bored is more of like a scoffing at other people kind of brag. Whereas this is more of like a yo, look at me, I'm lit kind of brag. It's like kind of a different bag.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but your song Boy,
Yeah,
Boy, shut your ass up, that one.
yeah,
That was played on Zane Lowe's show, right?
yeah, yeah. It was.
Talk about the thoughts that ran through your head when you heard that play on Zane Lowe's show and how'd that come to life?
Well, what was cool is like I've definitely seen a lot of artists like post like, oh, my song is premiering on Zane Lowe tomorrow, right? Like I found out through a message that was like, yo, congrats. Your song just played. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean it just played? Like nobody told me it was gonna play. So it was like a surprise. It was a huge surprise. So that was really cool. And then I think the other thought that went through my head is like of all the songs in my discography to play on radio, like that one is hilarious because like they have to bleep out every curse. And it's like that chorus sounds so funny. Like it's like, boy, shut your up, boy. Like it literally sounded like someone like scratching a record for like a minute and a half. And we were talking like with the producer and like my manager and stuff. We were like, yo, can we even make a clean version if we wanted to? And like we thought about it and we were like, bro, I don't even know if it's possible. So we just took it for what it was. But that was really cool. I would love to like I didn't get to talk to Zane Lowe or anything. I would love to be like, yo, thanks. Like it's honestly really cool. That opens up your songs to a lot, like a whole new audience. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Zane Lowe. I think he's just great at talking to artists and really diving deep into their psyche and just showcasing their music to a different crowd. He's just like the king at just conversating, and I love
Yeah,
him for that. And also putting people on to new music. Like, I wonder how that happened. Maybe he found your music, someone sent it to him or whatnot.
I wish I knew. Yeah.
That's the magic of good music, though. Like
Yeah,
good music travels, and I'm sure that showed you something, very special within yourself and within your musical skill.
absolutely.
So there's a little bit of a audio sample at the beginning of Boy.
Yeah.
Is that a sample from the New York City clout guy?
Yeah, that's John Luke. Yeah, he's
John.
a friend of mine now. Yeah. So I actually found his music on TikTok before he did the Cloud Guy stuff. And I just really like one of his songs. I was like, this is dope. And so like I saved it and we like follow each other on social media and stuff. And he's from New York too. So it was like it's cool. Like I have met him in person a couple times now, but at the time of that, I don't think I had met him yet. But I was just like, yo, it'd be hilarious if we just because the song originally had me doing something like that in the beginning, just like pitched up or whatever. And it was like kind of funny, but like it was not nearly as funny as what John Luke did. So I was like, yo, can you just like say some funny shit here? And he killed it, man. Like he really killed it. His music is really sick too. So
He's hilarious. His videos are hilarious, and I looked into his, himself, Jean Luc, as an artist too. And
yeah,
I'm actually trying to do an interview with him in the future because I think
definitely should.
he's very creative at the way he gets people to listen
Oh yeah.
to his music. And I just love the part that you put because it fit so well.
Yeah, he nailed that. He really was the perfect person for that. Like I was very lucky that worked out.
So are there any songs on this album, maybe your top three favorite that you have?
Midnight Snack is probably my favorite at this point. And then I really like Ooh That's Hard. That's kind of like a sleeper pick. I
It
really
is, it is.
I
It's
like that
hard
song.
too.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that song a lot. Just like the kind of music that I listen to like these days. So I really like that song. And then probably I'm bored. Just because like I've always wanted to make some shit that hard. And I finally did, like and it's cool to do it. And the first time I made that song, I wasn't really sure what to think of it. And then everyone was like, dude, what's wrong with you? This is amazing. I was like, cool. And that was the first song. That's the oldest song out of all those songs on the album. Like that was the first one that I made. So it kind of set me in a new direction. So I'm really thankful that, I had the opportunity to make that with my friend Mike, who also produced Midnight Snack, which kind of shows like the range of a producer he is, because like those two things sound absolutely nothing like each other, so
Right.
cool.
I'm bored is more of you're showing your rapping skill. And I know some
Yeah.
of your older music was more along the lines of rapping. So talk about the collab that you had on that too.
Yeah, well, Gal, I was really lucky to get introduced to Gal. We have the same manager, so he's very particular about his world, and his world building is so awesome that I wasn't really sure like if he was going to be down to be a part of this, and he was, and which was sick. And then actually like in the process of it, after the fact, he like stayed with me in New York for like a month or a month and a half, and he's one of the nicest people on earth. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Gal the arsonist. Gal is the best, and he killed that too. So
Now there's another collab of an artist that I'm
yeah,
a huge fan of. Should I Come Through with Chris
yeah.
Patrick? I actually just recently had a great conversation with Dende.
Oh,
Um,
yo, I mean, me and Dende have a lot of music too. So
oh, really? Okay. So
yeah, for sure.
so I have to go. Is a lot of it released or unreleased or whatnot? Or
It's all unreleased,
it's all
but
unreleased? Because I saw he liked one of your videos or commented on something, and I always love to connect the dots between artists that I like or
yeah,
talk to. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I had a really great conversation with him a couple weeks back, and we were talking about how talented Chris Patrick is and some of his collabs.
yeah,
So talk about the CXR group maybe that you've been working with and
yeah.
learning
So the
about.
funny thing is that kind of like Gal, Chris and I had the same management team kind of like 5 years ago. So I've known Chris through that kind of from a distance. And then as I became like more active on like Twitter and just like networking with a lot of artists on there, and networking sounds corny, but just like, talking to other artists on there,
Right.
like Chris and I ended up kind of in the same artist circle again. And I was just like, yo, this dude is hella dope. And then through that, it's kind of how I met Dende too, and Colin and the rest of their team and stuff. So I've just like always had good conversations with them. And when I had that song, I was like, well, I feel like he would kill this. So he did. That was one of the last songs we finished on the album too. So I'm really thankful he was able to like get it in on time and stuff.
So when you sit with a lot of these songs that you're preparing to gear up to drop an album, is there a bit of a relief feeling when you release an album and you get the creative release out on all these songs that you've been sitting on? Describe that feeling for you.
I'm working towards that. I would like to have a relief feeling, but honestly, a lot of times, especially earlier in my career, and I was more insecure about like my ability to make good music, like I would be like, damn, well, at least I still have this one unreleased. Maybe this one will blow up. Maybe this one will blow up. Maybe this one will blow up. So releasing it can be scary because then you're basically just like emptying the clip, right? So it's like, what do you have left after that? And I'm lucky I still have a bunch of songs that I'm very happy with that are coming out. But part of learning how to really push an album is accepting that, being like, yo, I'm letting it all fly, like just gonna put it out there. And then when you get to that stage, it does become a little bit of a relief. When you, as long as it resonates with like one person, you see that resonation and they're like, yo, oh my god, this is whatever, they were excited and they feel like they've been satiated by what they got, like that's a good feeling. That definitely aids to the relief.
There he go, from the top rope. Now she pulling up my arm till I'm a cyborg. Yeah, she wanna pin it on me with a blindfold.
What has performing been like for you? And is there a memorable moment for you while you've been on stage, maybe interacting with fans that you remember?
Yeah, I I love performing. I actually think performing is a lot like teaching. It's funny because like you're kind of like up and on stage in front of a bunch of people. It's not really that different from being in front of a classroom in front of a bunch of people, especially like earlier in my career when I'll be doing like showcase shows with like 8 other artists where like nobody in the audience cares or gives a fuck about anybody except for the person they came to see.
Right.
It's a lot like trying to get 15-year-olds to care about like math, like they don't want to care about this shit. So you're gonna have to leave it all on the floor, like if you want a chance. So I think that like doing both those things at once in my life like kind of helped me build it up. I love performing. Like it's awesome. At any opportunity I get to do it, I love doing it. I just did my first tour, so getting to do that was really cool. And I'm hoping to do a lot more of that in the future. With my favorite moment, I probably the New York show, like from this past tour in June at the Elsewhere rooftop. Like I've wanted to play that venue for like 3 years. So
One of my favorite venues in New York.
yeah, getting to finally do it is just like really cool. Anybody who's been there knows that like that place is it, like it really is. And just like the crowd was awesome. So it was like that experience to me was really cool.
So lastly, my last question, I always like to end interviews with this to, maybe help some artists manifest their dreams and aspirations. So I ask you, Hadji, what are some of your biggest goals and aspirations that you have that you'd like to accomplish over the next year?
Over the next year? I want to play gov ball. I want to play governor's ball. I want to go on tour with another artist who's bigger than me and play some new cities. I want to drop another project within the next year. That's those singles that I'm dropping are Lucy's. It's not a part of it. I'm working on it separately, but I want to drop another project. Yeah, I want to go on tour for sure. It's a big one. I want to play at the Bowery Ballroom in New York. I want to play the Gov Ball. Obviously, I said that like 100 times. I said that every time because I really want to do it. And yeah, I mean those are definitely some of the goals I have.
Is there anything in particular that you'd like to learn as far as music goes, like how to do something?
Yeah, for sure. I want to learn a couple things. Let me think. Definitely some video stuff. I'm trying to learn. I want to set up a green screen and use it myself. I don't even think that's like that difficult, but like it just takes like the effort. I want to do that for sure. I want to shoot my own music video, like high quality at some point. Maybe not in the next year, but hopefully.
I love to hear it. And I thank you for giving it so much thought. It's not a very easy thing to remember or just have ready to go as far as dreams and aspirations go. So thank you
Oh, for sure.
I appreciate it. And to everyone watching at home, you're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, AT Bianco. This has been our great conversation with Hadji Gaviota. Be sure to go check out all his music videos because he is one of the most impressive visual artists that I've seen teasing his music on YouTube and TikTok. And be sure to go stream his album, Wallflower, out on all streaming platforms. Hadji, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And thank you guys all for watching. I appreciate you guys.